Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's on at DisneyPlus.com. It's Sunday and it's time for our weekly Q&A. Today is a pre-recorded one because I'm not able to do it live. I will be back live next week. But so we've had a lot of questions submitted by our Patreon and YouTube channel members who support the site. It keeps us all going. It supports my family, supports everything that we do. And so a big thank you to everyone that helps out. And you can become a member from as little as $2 a month. And it does really make a big difference. So we're less reliant on advertising revenue and all the rest of it. It just makes a big difference. So let's jump into the first question. So Daniel and Babak, they both asked very similar questions. They said, there seems to be several A&E shows like Storage Wars coming to Disney Plus. Could we get an A&E hub or a collection soon? So A&E is actually 50% owned by Disney. And years ago, they actually ended up like licensing a load of content to Discovery. Some of that seems to be coming to an end. And this year, we've started seeing A&E content. So that includes like Lifetime, A&E History Channel, and I'm starting to see it coming onto Disney Plus. We've seen some things added this month. There's even more coming next month, like Storage Wars, there's like bridal shows, all kinds of different things. And now, I like the idea of Disney using its content, bringing in more general entertainment stuff that more people can enjoy. I think it's good. Some of them are a little bit old. I would have preferred some new stuff, but it's all part of the gateway. It's all part of just like bringing more content into Disney Plus. Now, the trouble is with the A&E hub, as you would call it, is in Europe, when Disney brought 20th Century Fox, they had to sell part of those networks. So in some countries, they couldn't necessarily exist. So until we get to a point where some of the hubs can change around a little bit, that might be an issue. For example, they couldn't have ABC down in Australia because they've got the Australian Broadcast Corporation. But then we have other countries, I believe it's in Turkey, that they don't actually have Star. It's just like called More Entertainment because Star is already being used by somebody else. So we might end up just seeing some hubs being used differently there. So that might be something that comes in. We might see some collections. This is why I do think Disney Plus is going to need a restructuring of its formats in terms of finding stuff. So we have more collections, more hubs, because as it's expanded from those 5 to 6 brands, or the 5 core brands, things like A&E stuff just doesn't fit anywhere. It doesn't fit. It's not National Geographic. You could probably get away with it, but it's not Disney. You know, you can't put that. It's not a Disney branded. If it doesn't have that Disney logo in the title, it shouldn't probably be in the Disney hub the same way Marvel or Star Wars isn't. So I do think we are probably going to end up seeing some more hubs coming down the line, but we're probably going to need a lot more content, you know, maybe like an ESPN hub, an ABC hub, and things like that. I definitely feel like we should get one. Matt also asked, when do you think we're going to get some general entertainment hub in the US? So this is very kind of similar kind of question. I'm in that line now of I don't think Disney Plus in the US is going to get that star hub in the same way that internationally we are. I think eventually we're just going to end up with more hubs for different things. So we've got much more of the core brands there, like 20th Century, ESPN. I think it will come eventually because as they put more and more stuff in, this Star Hub, it was a means to an end. I think it's not very good from a publicity point of view in terms of how they're using it. Some countries don't even use the term Star Original. It doesn't really mean anything. So it's a very hit and miss stuff. And Matt also says, he also asked about the idea of adding these things in. So it's definitely interesting to see how it kind of moves on from there. So Stuart says, is there any news on when Darby and the Dead is coming to the United Kingdom? So this was released at the beginning of December in the United States. It was supposed to arrive globally on the same day on Disney Plus. It didn't arrive. The good news is it is going to be dropping on Friday the 27th. We've had it confirmed for the UK. They just started publicizing it now. We've known for a while that Australia and New Zealand. So it's going to be all be coming out and like Canada as well. So it's going to be this coming Friday. So check it out. I enjoyed it. It's not amazing, but it's definitely worth checking out. It's an enjoyable film. Daniel says, if you could give a new season to any cancelled Disney Plus show that's not including Star, what would it be? The Right Stuff. For me, The Right Stuff, I really enjoyed that first season. I thought it was great. I would also maybe throw Big Shot. We're at a point really where we've not really had a lot of cancelled Disney Plus shows. The Right Stuff would probably be my first pick. Babak also says, how come Comcast has removed some NBC shows from Hulu? You'd think they would want there'd be something in the contract. Now, there was a contract in place when Disney and Comcast came to an agreement over the future of Hulu way back when they bought Fox back in I think it was 2019. There was a deal in place that from 2022, NBC could start removing its content from, so it was actually built into the contract that they could do it. Some of the stuff was a little bit more extended in how long it would last there. That's why you're getting next day episodes on Peacock rather than Hulu. So it was actually in a contract. It's just the contract's now expired, which makes sense. So yeah, so that's that. There was a contract. It's just coming to an end. Connor says, what are your thoughts on Disney potentially opening a second UK store? So Connor messaged me earlier in the week. Apparently they're looking to open up a new store in Manchester. We used to have here in the UK, like across America and across Canada, we used to have a lot of Disney stores. They've kind of pretty much closed all of them down. I believe the only one left now in the UK is the Oxford Street one. I don't know if the one in Cardiff is still there. Whenever I go to London, I always go to Oxford Street to go and see the store. It's kind of a bit of a weird one now because it's just literally just feels like everything that's in there you pretty much can get at Shop Disney, and a lot of the stuff as well you can kind of get at the parks. It was a little bit annoying actually because back when I went to Disneyland for the D23 Expo, I brought some Christmas decorations. I saw them in the store. It was a little bit like, oh well, that kind of defeated. I thought they were a little bit more special than that. So that was a little bit annoying. But the idea of them opening up new stores. I remember going to the Manchester store once because Manchester Airport is near the Trafford Centre, so I went off to that one. More stores. I think having a few bigger stores probably makes more sense than having lots of little ones. There used to be a time, 10, 15 years ago, where I am now, there was probably about 6 or 7 stores in the different cities all around here. They've all gone. And it's right. And I know in the US they've been put into Target. I kind of get where they went with. You're not seeing as many shops nowadays. Most of them are closing down. Retail is much less, and I can see why Disney has pulled out and putting more of its content in other retailers. I do think, however, having flagship stores in prime locations is not a bad thing as a flagship. Still having some. I remember going there was one near Paris at the Charles de Gaulle. Not Charles de Gaulle, at the Marble Arch that they've got there, and that was a fantastic. I love the one that was in New York City in Times Square. So I always go into them. So definitely like to see them come back to it. Babak says, why are we getting Christmas content in February? I think they just, Christmas. Maybe they watched the Santa Claus and realized it's Christmas every day. I think it's more to do with the fact that those contracts expired and they've got them now. So they put it on there. I personally would have just been like, why not just hold on to them? But maybe they're looking at it and going, well, we might as well put it on there. But yeah, it does seem a little bit odd to be getting Thanksgiving and Christmas films. They took some of them off just before Christmas, but then maybe that's a different era or where we're in a different, I don't know. It's very odd. Matt asks, what changes do you think we'll see to Disney Plus this year? I think we're going to see much more of a shift to basically making more money. And what that means is we're going to see less. I think we are going to see some of the shows that were planned for this year. They're going to end up shifting maybe back a little bit, spreading them out a little bit, maybe taking this year and next year's series and stretching them out over 3 years. Over the weekend is broken that The Boogeyman, it's a 20th Century Studios film, was going to be released on Hulu and Disney Plus around the world, now going to cinemas. I think we're going to see less original movies. I think we're going to see a lot of that stuff going. We're already seeing some of the shows being distributed on linear, and I think we're going to start seeing them now kind of looking and going, right, we need to make money at this. I think we'll probably end up seeing the ad tier roll out internationally. We're probably going to see an increase in price internationally. Most of us didn't get that recent price rise when the ad tier launched. I think it makes sense to maybe do it at the same time. So I think we're going to see that one. As far as I'm not expecting a big shift with Hulu or anything like that this year. It'd be nice. And I would like them to make a big kind of move to kind of maybe move all the ABC and stuff over to Disney Plus in the US, but I don't think we're going to get that. Hopefully just some stability and kind of get some of the stuff sorted, more global releases at the same time, and just get, consolidation is not a bad thing if they can get everything that they've not done right. I'd like to see some more legacy content, maybe reverse those decisions of some of the removals, start putting some of them back on. But yeah, I'm not expecting a huge amount this year. I think it's going to be a little bit of just trying to make some money. So Keenan said, I'm surprised that Avatar: The Way of Water is going to be in the 2 billion range. by the end of the weekend, because I believe some movie theaters are either bankrupt because of the box office not being good, or they've only got 4 films since and there's only been 4 films since in the pandemic that's made $1 billion. Well, I'd look at Avatar: The Way of Water. First off, it is an amazing film. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. The thing is with this film is this is something that you go to the cinema to see because it is a spectacular. It feels different. The sound, the visual effects of it, you cannot get on your TV at home. And I think that is a key thing, that this is a special event. You go to the cinema to see it on the big premium screens because it offers you something that you can't get at home. And that is a massive change. We haven't really seen much of that. I love the film. Like I said, I always thought it was going to be good. I didn't know if it was going to hit 2 billion. I'll be honest. I thought it might struggle. It was going to be interesting to see how people reacted to it. People seem to be going into it. I think it's going to be in cinemas for a while, and it's going to keep bringing people in. I do think the box office and cinemas as a whole have to adapt. They can't just try and keep going back to what it was like in years before, not just before the pandemic, but you're trying to go back 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100. That's not going to work. You have to, and like Avatar is giving you a premium experience. I could quite easily see some of the cinemas, starting to just move over to premium screens. The idea of having massive, great big cinemas with 25, 30 screens, that might just start becoming a thing like we see less of, because there's just not enough, people aren't watching, there used to be, you see a lot of comedy films and stuff much more. I'm not entirely surprised, but I think it showcases what cinema can be when it really puts its mind to it. Connor says, do you think you could add, or they could add some park-based live streams to Disney Plus? It would be good watching parades and fireworks from your sofa or on the bus. I think the trouble is, it's a bit of an odd one. First off, capturing it perfect. The thing is Disney is going to want to put out a really good, high-quality version of a fireworks show. They're going to want it from different angles. They're going to want drone shots. They're going to just having like a webcam doing it live. And if it's live every night, you kind of lose the feel of it. I mean, you can go onto YouTube and people are recording there, and then you got, they'd have a better view because they wouldn't have, someone with kids on their shoulders and stuff. But it kind of would take away a little bit of the magic of it. I mean, when you see one of these shows in person, it is amazing. Literally just before here, I was watching Fresh Baked, and he was showing off sort of some fireworks from the Magic Kingdom, and he was on a boat. And that is a unique experience. And obviously capturing it on video just does not do it justice. A couple of minutes is fine. But to sit there and watch the entire thing, I don't think it hits that same mark. I love the fireworks shows. I love seeing them and stuff like that. I can't wait to see. They just announced earlier this week that there's going to be some fireworks shows on the cruise, on the Disney cruises. So I'm hoping to see that when go later this year. So I love the fireworks, but I just don't know if it worked. Maybe if they do it, just record one really good one, maybe just before a show disappears or something like that. But you also want to get people to the park. Babak says, when do you think other Marvel shows like Hitmonkey and Legion will appear? I'm surprised they've not already arrived. Hitmonkey, for one. It might be a restriction in terms of what they can do with FX shows on Hulu, what the contract is, what they've got in place. They might not want to. They're really good shows. Maybe a month when they've got like not a lot of, when they're kind of lacking a little bit on Marvel. That might be one way of doing it. So Keenan says, when do we get a new live stream show on Disney Plus? So they just announced over the weekend we're going to be getting the Oscars nominations. That's going to be live. Whether or not they stream the Oscars, I don't know. The thing is with a live show is things like Dancing with the Stars and voting on it is one way. We are seeing a lot less. They're expensive to make. They're limited in terms of where they can go. We are seeing less of them. I mean, just in general, like all we really see now, like live here, like here in the UK, most of it is just daytime stuff, is cheap, easy going stuff. More expensive big things like Ant and Deck or something like that is, we're seeing a lot less of it than we used to. Years ago, there was a lot more of it live, but I think the cost of it just means that they can't do it the same. Ken says, besides the ad tier, what other ways do you think Disney Plus can turn a profit before 2024? I think one of the key things what we're going to see is, I think we're going to see a slowdown in content. That is how they're going to save some money. maybe rather than trying to run out 4 or 5 Marvel shows and 3 or 4 Star Wars shows and some big, you think of 2022, we had 3 massive Star Wars series, 3 massive Marvel shows, we had 2 Marvel specials, we had Willow, we had a whole host of other stuff. We had major films like Hocus Pocus, Disenchanted. They probably could, with better strategy. I think if they can like leapfrog Marvel and Star Wars, and maybe have another show going alongside them, like High School Musical or National Treasure, that will stretch out the content a little bit. That will save them some money. I think we're going to see a lot less original films. I think they're going to end up shifting more to theatrical first to make money there, so they don't cost as much. I think we're going to see maybe a shift to, it's like not necessarily for Disney Plus to make more money, but like movies might end up going like Universal, where they go to digital maybe first for a little bit. I wouldn't be at all surprised if we see that happen this year, where instead of going to Disney Plus after 45 days to 60 days, whatever, they maybe go to digital outlets like iTunes, etc., so that they can make some more money. I think it's less about Disney Plus making more money and also just about reducing the costs and just trying to claw back money from different ways. You go back to a little bit more of windowing, because even before the pandemic, we were looking at 6 to 9 months from a movie being released before it hit Disney Plus. I don't want to go back to that, but maybe 90 days to 120 days might be a better window for it to drop if they dropped it then on digital, maybe at like 60 days or 45. They're going to want to extend box office numbers and money coming in from other ways. Making profit on Disney Plus and also putting things on linear, maybe more ads. I think the international rollout of ads obviously is going to be a big aspect, but I think just making less shows, more consolidation, cutting costs, I think that is how they're going to do it. Wow, unfortunately, I think we will see a price rise. I think we will see another price rise, maybe around Christmas time or something like that. Maybe early next year, we will see another price rise, and another, without doubt. Elliot says, when does Disney and Netflix contract expire? I heard that Bunk season 6 will be on Netflix. After that, do you think Bunk will come to Disney Plus in the US? The thing is with this contract is I think it's not so much a single contract. We are talking multiple contracts. And some of the contracts on some of the older shows, like Bunked, and I believe things like Grey's Anatomy, etc., there was a deal kind of in place where they, as long as they kept getting renewed, like they had first dibs on them. So we've seen that, like I think it was like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like once it got cancelled, then 2 years later they could pull it off. So that might be the issue with Bunked. Same thing maybe like shows like Grey's Anatomy. So Bunked, if they cancel it, then we can probably wait 2 years in there. But I think the fact that they keep extending it, I'm surprised they did. I mean, we rarely get a Disney Channel show with 6 seasons. You don't get a lot of that. Connor says, following the success of gaming adaptations like Sonic 2, Resident Evil, and The Last of Us, I did watch the first episode of that. That was really good. Could Disney start producing similar content? It's very tricky with video game. Trying to turn a video game into a series or a movie is very tricky. I think a series in some ways works. If you take a video game that is very story-based, say like an Assassin's Creed game, I know they turned it into a movie, but trying to condense a 60 to 70 hour video game story down into a 2-hour video movie can be quite difficult. I think The Last of Us, I mean, I've only seen the first episode, but the game kind of is a story and kind of, like Uncharted kind of falls into that. Whereas if it was to take something like, like say Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, there's less of a story with that. Super Mario, never, you just rescued the princess. That's all there was. So it's very tricky. And I think like one good or two good sort of versions of it, not necessarily going to do it. And also they're going to, Sony have kind of locked up a lot of deals. I haven't even got around to watching that Halo series on Paramount Plus because people have been saying it wasn't good and I just didn't get around to it. But it's very tricky in terms of getting those adaptations right. Final question. Keenan says, what are your predictions on who will win the Royal Rumble? Mine is Cody Rhodes. Yeah, Cody Rhodes is I'm hoping he wins and goes on to beat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Interesting enough, the Royal Rumble is on Disney Plus in the Philippines and Indonesia. So I know people kind of sometimes go, there is a lot of people kind of make the connection with Comcast with all the deals. But internationally, Disney is kind of jumping in on that. Well, there we go. That is this week's Q&A. Thank you to all of our patrons and YouTube channel members. Thank you so much for your continued support. Thank you for supporting us. It helps so much. And on that note, guys, thank you very much for watching. See you guys soon. Laters. Thank you very much for watching this video. Make sure you go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. Like, follow, and subscribe. Also, a huge thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and also on our YouTube channel memberships. And I shall see you guys in another video. Laters.